Put it in the middle, everyone can listen. Like this,
Slides are visible.
Yes, ma'am.
In previous class, we were discussing about the file systems, like structure which is followed in distributed environment. So we are talking about file system, what is distributed file systems, how, like what are the different types and different responsibilities, and what is file, what is directory. And under that we have discussed some of the modules for file systems and operations. So some of the design requirements, okay, so like transparency, concurrent file updates, replication. So all these things need to be taken care before you find out a storage system for a distributed environment. And we've gone through the case studies, Sun NFS. Okay, this Andrew file system, it is not there in your syllabus, but it is there in the textbook. For your reference, you can go through it. It's just a compatible version of NFS. Okay, so next, the last topic here, and we have discussed also about flat file service and directory service. What is the complete architecture, like the followed in file server module is shown, and what is client module, and some of the reasons we can compare distributed environment with the standalone Unix system. Okay, so yeah, these are all the things we have discussed in the previous class. Okay, and about Sun NFS, they followed the same architecture where we had a virtual file system, Unix modules, various Unix modules, and they use two versions of NFS. First NFS protocol and the second NFS protocol to achieve fault tolerance things. And yeah, so we were discussing about mounting the request also. Yes. The next topic is some of the advances, like this is the last topic in this particular chapter. Some of the advanced version of the already existing file system they've come up with. One is NFS enhancements, like Sprite, it is SPRIT. Here, it ensures one copy update semantics. We have discussed like various types of semantics. In that, we have gone through this one copy update. Here, one copy update means there will be multiple copies of data, like cached copies of the data, but the user will think that they are modifying the same copy of the data. Even though there are multiple, like cached copies of data in multiple systems, the user of of that particular data, they thinks that the same copy of the data is being modified. Okay, that is one copy update semantics tells about. Here, this implementation, sprightly NFS implementation of NFS protocol with the addition of open and close. Okay, with the addition of open and close calls. Okay, how this works I'll tell you. Open and close calls. Okay, client modules must send an open operation whenever a local user level process opens a file that is on the server. See, the implementation or the working, like how it is going to work, I'm explaining with respect to one copy update, how it is happening, because how user experience that he is modifying the same copy of the data, I mean same data. Okay, so here if you have a client machine and if you have a server machine, client and server, there will be calls between client and server. Here in Sprite you have open call and close call. What does it do, this open call and close call? Okay, so open call, what are the parameters for open call is the mode, means whether the client wants to open this particular file to read, to write, or to do both. These are the modes. Okay, and it also includes count. Count means, see, some client will have multiple processes. Okay, it is not that it is running only one process, it has multiple processes. Okay, and multiple process of out of these processes are accessing the same file here. Okay, there is a file name called F1. This process P1 is trying to access the file. I mean, it is already accessing the file 1, and process 2 is also accessing file 1, and now process 3 is sending the request to open the file, same file F1. Process 3 is trying to open the same file F1. That is count. See, for this call, for the call from process 3, the count will be 2. That means 2 process from my side, that is from the same client, is accessing the same file. This count is sent along with the call, new call. Okay, and it also has, there is one more parameter. Yeah, it's like say both are 2 parameters, mode and the file, like the count for the file. Okay, so now what happens? What are these modes, and what is the effect of specifying this mode, and how server ensures that the user, this process 3 will not come to know that process 2 and process 1 is modifying it, and it thinks that I am accessing the same copy of the data, like the proper copy of the data from the server. How server will ensure? Okay, see, I'll just tell you like the combination, like for combinations that can be for this mode. Combinations you can see for this particular mode. Okay. Here, when client, this is from client side. Okay, and this is from server side. Okay, when client wants to read a particular file, and same file, okay, it wants to read, suppose let's say F1, and F1 is accessed early, like many other processes are also accessing the same file F1. Okay, and they have opened the file for reading it. Okay, client 1, the new process, wants to read it, and the old processor also, like old processes, they are also reading the same file. Okay, what happens in this situation? It is allowed actually. It is, yeah, it is allowed. Okay, reading from both the sides, some other processes are accessing it, it is allowed. Okay, now client the new process here wants to read, and the file is being written, like some other processes, say some P2, P3, from some different clients are writing on it. Okay, making modifications in the file. That time what happens is, this wants to read and the files are open for writing. Server will immediately send messages to P2 and P3 telling to lease it, like telling to stop writing now, so that the updated copy of the data is been available to this client. Okay, suppose this is process 1. Updated. So now it is not writing, P2 and P3 is not writing, and till now how much ever it has been written, how much ever it has been modified, the updated data is available for reading. This is one combination. Another combination, the process 1 from some client wants to write, and the file is open for reading. Okay, this wants to write and the file is open for reading from other clients or some other processes. That time what happens is, the server again sends some callback messages to this P2 and P3 to delete whatever the content it is been cached there in their client machine. Some of the data has been cached. Okay, the current data has been cached, but now the modification is going to begin. The client, this particular process, wants to write something onto the file. So server will immediately send callback messages to P2 and P3 telling that now to delete, invalidate whatever the data which has been recorded till now, because new data is available. Okay, this is one criteria. And when the client wants to write data and file is already open for writing, okay, this particular write will fail, because file is already been writing by some other processes. So now you can't write, it has been modifying now. So now this scenario will not happen, this write will fail. Okay, So because of these four things, now server will make sure that whatever the data has been there, even in the cached copies and even in the one copy which is maintained in the server, is consistent. Okay, any doubt here in the Sprite version of the NFS? Understood? Understood? If you have doubts, ask now. Because pages of explanation is there in the textbook, but this is...
I had a doubt.
Yeah.
Ma'am, so when you are saying that this, like in the third case, when the server is reading and the client is supposed to be writing, then the
Second
reading...
case, no? Server is
yes, ma'am.
writing.
Then this,
Server, it's
no, the
not
client
server
is
writing.
the client is writing. Client is
Yeah.
writing. The server is reading at that point of time. So you said
Actually,
that the
just one more clarification. See, here also some other clients are reading, not server.
okay.
Some other clients. Okay, here whatever it is happening, no, these four scenario, it's from some other clients or from the same client, different processes. It's like
Okay,
completely different processes. They are writing, reading, writing, reading. Okay.
okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So you are saying that the data is deleted at that point of time so that the new data that is available that can be used, right? But ma'am, what if the same data is retained and further modifications are made? Won't that lead to like instead of just
This data is
taking
not
the
deleted. The
changes?
data in the server is not deleted. Server will send messages to the process. They have opened that file for reading, you know, some other
Yes, ma'am.
process. They are open for that file for reading, and they have some cached copies of the data. This data, it's
Okay.
there in their memory, local machine. It is there. Server will send messages to these local client machine to invalidate the data, not this data. That's
Okay,
what,
ma'am.
that is how server make you, no one will understand, like no one, none of the clients will, users will understand that the data is from the local, data is from the remote, nothing. It's like there is a in between messages, it's been sent between the server and the client. So when the file is open for reading, opened for reading from some other processes which is running in some other client machine or in the same machine, will have the cached copy of the data, right? It is reading now.
Yes, ma'am.
But this process is writing something on the same data. That means whatever the data this process is reading is invalid actually. So it will immediately send the messages to this process to delete that data which is cached there, get the new content of the data, then again read like that.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. I got that.
Yeah. Okay. Any other doubts? We'll move to the next one. Yeah. So whatever the explanation which will be there in the slide, it's for reference. Just to understand, I've put it in the normal words, but my detailed explanation you need to go through, which is there in the textbook, but the content will be same. Just for marks purpose, you're supposed to write more, so you're supposed to go through it. Okay, otherwise it will be easy for you to understand if you go through the slides which I'm be explaining here. Okay, that is about that. Yeah. Same thing is mentioned. Okay, this process, this one. Okay, see, for open operations that specify read mode, the server sends callback message to any other client that is writing. I have told you, no, stop writing. This is a callback message. Or stop reading, any other thing, which is just to stop some other process to do some perform particular task. This operation is called as cease. Okay, this operation is called as cease. Cease caching the file so that all local read calls result in a request. So cease means stop doing it. Okay, so this is particular operation, cease operation. The next version, the next enhancement for the NFS is NQNFS. NQNFS. Okay, this is more precious about the the more importance here given to consistency. Okay, NQNFS server maintains similar client related. This also follows the same open and close calls. Okay, but it uses that lease operation to aid recovery. So this is one operation which is to aid recovery after a server crash happens. What happens if the server crashes? The complete data has been lost, like if that is the case, it adds some more mechanisms to do that, is like to avoid that is lease, having the multiple copies of the data. So all these operations is referred to lease here. Okay, then WebNFS. This is another version. The aim of a WebNFS is to enable web browsers and other applications to access files on NFS server. So till now, I have told you the operations called as mount, where client will request for some file and some mapping will happen. That is called as port mapper, and that will be the request will be mapped to a particular service that is exported on the server side. Those are all between the client and server. None of them are web browsers. None of them the operations are from the web browsers. Okay, the client was not, like, it was not web browsers. To have that web browser as client to access the files which is on the server side, that is NFS server, they've come up with the new version. I mean, new enhancement to the NFS. It is WebNFS. Okay, here there won't be mount service and the port mapper service. Here, clients interact with an NFS server at just a port number. With that, with the URL given, with the port number, it is possible for a client machine to access the service directly. Okay, there is no mount and mapper service. Okay, another one is for WAN, used for WAN, which is wide NFS version 4. Okay, so these are some of the enhancements. This ends with this particular chapter. So any doubts still here? This chapter is important. Any doubts? Systems? Don't have any doubts? Start with a new chapter. Today's class I'll just take like hardly 1 hour class, because I'll start with the new new concept from the next week. So just some slides are there to display. After that you can leave the session. Okay. See, most of you, I've seen you like logging in very late. So don't take it like you need to take it seriously. This time will not be like previous time. We'll be taking the attendance into account. Okay, make sure you log in here. Whatever, like some of the question and answer also, it will be useful for you, for us to assess you. Okay, so be serious in the class, attend properly. So then don't come up with the issue that you cannot write the exam because you have attendance issue. Okay. So I've seen you, like many of you, like not many, at least 10 in class are logging in after 20 minutes, after 25 minutes without any reason. Okay, definitely you people are not going to get the attendance later. So make sure, say that's the reason, since SLCM we have not started entering the attendance. Every day I'll be putting your attendance status. Okay. Yes. Next chapter. This chapter, like you people know what it is already. It's all about your name services like DNS, everything. It's a very easy chapter from this unit. So distributed file systems and name services will make a one unit here. Okay, together. So I don't think I have to explain much about all these like in detail. Already you know what is domain name systems, name services, all those things. Okay, so again it's like a revision for you, like refreshments. Here, name service. What are names? Okay, like normal words, it is used to refer some resources. Similar way, it is not possible. See, you have several like many folders or files or the data like information which is need to be referred from different places, locations, like technically speaking. Okay, so how do you refer those? Is it possible like you remember IP address of all the locations? Is it possible for a person to do so? It's not possible, right? So that's the reason, just for identification, we use name service, which provides name for all these services, which is part of your servers. Okay, so descriptive attributes are also means like useful means of identifications. Sometimes we refer resources with names. Sometimes we refer resources with its attributes. Okay, so these are all the things which is to refer something. Okay, here file name we give it as /etc password or something. This is the name we are giving. Internally it has its own address that we can't remember. Okay, that's the reason a name is being given. And this URL you take www.cdk4.net, it is a name given. Okay, actually this is not the way mapper will map your this name. I mean mapper will identify your location. Okay, so remote object reference for remote file handles, these are all the names given. These are all just the reference or the names given. Okay, so a distinct service. What is name service? Service that is used by client to obtain attributes such as addresses or resources or objects when given by the name. Just to identify or just to access this address, we give name. Okay, a service which which allow us to access resources by providing its addresses is name service. Okay, is name service. Name. What is name? A human readable string. Address. Bits used by machines to locate any object. Okay. Bind. Association between name and the address. So these are the terms you should remember. Okay. Resolve. So what does this resolve means? Resolve means, see, you provide in your web browser, you provide the name like URL there. How it is mapped, how it is resolved to get the proper content from the specified location. So that method or the mechanism is referred as resolve. Okay, translate from a name to an address. So example, this is the example. See, you specify URL here. Okay, so this URL you give www. Or some address you give here from the DNS lookup table. This URL will be mapped to IP number, port number, and the path name. So path name is given. Okay, so this is IP number, port number, and the path name. Okay, so this one through routing is mapped, like at the final stage it will be mapped to this network address where the actual system or the file is being exist. Okay, this is the network address. At the last stage, this will be the form. Okay, then actual location or through this port number for this web server, the actual content of the file is being transferred to is being transferred to the client machine. Okay, this is how the name, the URL it's been provided will be mapped to the server, like how it has been mapped to the server and how the content has been accessed from the server. So this one, this mechanism is called as resolve. Okay, here see this URL is being resolved here. This URL is being resolved here. This IP number or the combination is being resolved, and this server is going to resolve the final content. Okay, this mechanism is referred as resolve. Okay. The next term to remember is attributes. Attributes are the properties of associated with any object. Suppose if you say DNS, IP address is its attribute. You say x.500, person's email address and the telephone number are properties here. And COBA's naming service, if you take, object reference is an attribute there, because these are the properties of a object. Okay, then next one is uniform resource identifiers. See, some are used to uniformly identify the resources. Some things here, which I am going to explain now. So one is URL. Okay, URL. Then URN, uniform resource name. Okay, so these are all uniform resource identifiers. So what is URL? URL means addresses of web resources, and there will be problems like specified as dangling problem here, that you specify the address of a web resource, but that resource may be moved or may be deleted from the location. So those type of problems are referred as dangling problems. Okay, so then it comes URN, uniform resource name. It is a pure resource names. If you intend to solve these dangling problems, just to specify the name, uniform name it is. Okay, it's unique here, uniform name, and that will be mapped to the resource. So even if the content, if you specify the address, what happens? It may be moved from one location. It is possible that the resources may be moved from one location to other location. If you give the name, uniform, this particular name, it will be automatically mapped to the resource. Regardless which address it has been stored. Okay, so that is uniform resource name. It is used to solve this type of wrangling problems which exist in URL. Some like example you can give for URN is this. It looks something like this: URN ISBN 0201. This is one example which identifies book that bear the name. So this is the book name. For that, URN can be given like this, a uniform name. So this is specified, so no need to know the location or the address directly. That will be mapped to the content. Okay, so this is URN. See some of the requirements that to have a proper name service. Some of they are supports to resolve a name. So that is look up attributes from a given name. So it should support to resolve any name. If it's given to resolve, it should resolve it. Okay, it should see its attributes from a given name, and it has to be mapped to the proper content. So that is one requirement to have a name service. Then motivation for name management. So name management is also required. Why? Unification. Unification means it is often convenient. See, it should have the same naming scheme. There may be, if they are following different systems, if they are following their own scheme to name, then it is not possible. That unification must exist. That means resources managed by different services should use the same naming scheme. Okay, like URI. Integration. One common name service should be provided, so that even if you have heterogeneous systems in your distributed environment, because it shares everything. Okay, So even if you have this such type of environment, if one common name service is being followed, it will be easier for any server to map. Okay, so that is one requirement. Then it has to be scalable. Scalable means it should be able to get many names. Like these names are not being fixed every time. It has been keep changing or keep adding. Okay, so arbitrary number of administrator. There are number of organizations within a second. Like multiple organizations are going to register their own names, same own servers, everything. Okay, it has to be flexible. High availability. Even if the system crashes or anything happens to the systems, it should make sure that the name or some alternative service should be like that arrangement should be made. Okay, fault isolations. If that particular service, one location failure happens, then that location should be isolated from the entire service so that that failure is not visible to the users. Okay, so tolerance of mistrust. Naming should in such a way that it has to be trusted by all components. See, this is kind of summary here. If you give name to a particular system or a particular resources, this scheme will happen like resolve, and the name will be mapped to the content. Okay, name will be mapped to the content or the resources. If you give address, then nothing, no mapping, nothing, directly that resources is been accessed. If you give path, okay, so path will show like how to reach to how to route in order to get the particular resource. Okay, so that is path. These three are important. If you give name, resolve thing happens. If you give address, directly the resources has been accessed. If you give path, it shows the steps to route to get the proper information. So namespaces. So what do you mean by namespace? Namespace is nothing but it's a collection of all valid names recognized by a particular, every service will recognize some of the names, like for that particular service these names are valid, like that. Okay, so it's those collections of names are referred as namespaces. Okay, so that is hierarchical and it has a syntactic definition. So hierarchic means each part of name resolved related to a separate context. So suppose you have a directory here as root, so hierarchical, and you have say etc folder, and you have password folder, something here. Okay, each part of the name is relative to a separate context. See how if you want to refer this password, it is resolved like this. The path will be like this, and it has been resolved like this. First directly it has been resolved here, then etc comes here, then password goes like this. Okay, so every part of the name need to be resolved relative to this. Here relative to which context? This is a context here. Directory is a context. Okay, relative to directory context, this is resolved. The name has been resolved. Okay, internal structure of a name. How the name will be like this. So internally it looks something like this, etc or password. Externally you give some name, like fancy name you give, but internally it is structured like a tree or the root. Okay, and one more concept here, alias. Alias is nothing but the name, say for the same thing the different name has been given, but there is no reference or there is no memory for that. It is for the same content, different name has been given, like alias. The naming domain. Naming domain, like we have our like for our organization, we have like manipal.edu. It's a single administrative authority that has namespace for which there is like for this particular namespace for this domain .edvanipal.edu, we have a single administrator. So that is one domain like that. Okay. So those are all domains. Be stored in a separate. So all these naming domains are generally stored in different name servers. Okay. And that has been mapped like that. Then how do you combine? See, this is what is important for our distributed environment. Here, namespaces will be there, but they are all from the different systems. The heterogeneous, they are not from the same namespace. So name will be there, the address will be given, but part of the address is following for some, it's for some namespace, and part of the address is for some other namespace. How do you make sure that the proper content has been received? Okay, so there are some methods defined to make sure that even though you have heterogeneous or heterogeneous namespace, it will be, the problem will be solved. Okay, the first one is merging. Mount file system in Unix and NFS. So is it possible? Is it possible to combine, merge two different file systems? It's not that easy to merge two different file systems, because each of the file systems will, like if you take Unix, you have root. If NFS, that also has some roots. Is it possible these two to merge? It is not possible. Okay. So for example, you can see each computer has its own read with overlapping. So there are files. There are files. They are overlapping with each other. Suppose here also you have etc and here also you have etc. If you merge, how do you refer this and how do you refer this? It's not possible. Okay, so to solve this issue, they have come up with the concept called as super root. Example, you can see this example you take. For example, etc password refers to one file on red, and different file on blue. Okay, same file, this is same path, but one file is on red and another file it's on blue as a reference. Okay, so how do you, the obvious way to merge this file system to reach each computer's root with the super root and mount each computer's file systems in this super root. Okay, you need to mount this both the systems here. See, you can refer like this. One on red, one on red, and one on blue. And these are all not just the roots, these are all super roots. Okay, so then the problem will be resolved. See, proper file will be taken. Then next comes heterogeneity. One, combining namespaces, merging is there, and how merging can be done, that you understood. Heterogeneity. So heterogeneity distributed systems allows heterogeneous namespaces to be embedded within it. DCE names may contain junctions. So these are all, see, if this is the namespace, how heterogeneous namespace looks like. Just to show you an example, this is how it looks. See, the first part of this follows some naming scheme and this follows another naming scheme. Okay, for when this is the name when it is given, the first part .uk, it's there, right? This is referred as cell and this next part is referred as junction. Okay, just for your reference, it's not that required, just for your reference. Okay. Any doubts? If you don't have doubts, I'll start from the beginning of this chapter or from the beginning classes. I just want few people to answer questions. Okay, it's just for revision purpose. From the first class, I'm going to display slides.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Ma'am, I had a doubt regarding super roots. Ma'am, you showed two super root like the URLs, like the links, ma'am. But doesn't it like not solve the purpose of having one super root? Because we already were facing the problem with two roots, so we decided of having like merging and then having one super root.
Merging one super root, sir. No, no, root won't be there now. Like the root only referred as super root. Here, see, you can see two roots. Two roots are there, super roots. See, directly will not specify it as root slash or something. So there will be super roots only. Root
So
means it
there,
should be only one. Now, but we are here, we don't have only one, we have two.
so we are not having it as a root, but we are naming it as a super root.
Yes, yes.
Okay, ma'am.
Because that the red and blue, if you consider as root in different systems, but here they are not referred as root, they are referred as super root. Just to show that it is merged.
Okay, ma'am.
Is from the definition, you know what is distributed systems now? Communicates, coordinate their action through messages. Okay, so distributed systems, two aspects are there, independent and they are single. So communication way is through message. So some of the examples, intranet, internet, and mobile and ubiquitous computing. Intranet, you know, internet, you know, mobile computing and ubiquitous computing. Yes. Now roll number 12 from A section. So will be today's class, definitely you will be marked absent if you are not answering. It is for sure. At least know or don't know. You should answer. It's roll number 12. Now I'll record your attendance. A section. Yes. Roll number 12. Lakshmi Shreya. Absent. Yes, roll number 20 from A section. Vishwajit. Vishwajit. Lakshmi Shreya, present. Vishwajit. Yes, Rimsha Bashir. Rimsha Bashir. Dipankar. Dipankar. Roll number 23. All are from A section, okay? 23. Siddhant. Absent. 26. Roll number. Chinmaya. Thirty-one. Roll number. Thirty-one. $39. Um, 23. $39 absent. Okay. Then Shri Medha.
Yes, ma'am.
Shri Medha present.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What is mobile computing? mobile computing. See, the moment I call the attendance, if I see your message, then you will be present. So if it is late reply, make sure, I'm making you sure that like you will not get attendance. Srimeda, am I audible? Srimedha?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. What is mobile computing? These two. Mobile and ubiquitous computing. Not sure.
Um,
Yeah. Tell me. Can you explain with respect to this slide? Anyone, those who can explain? Yeah. Anyone? It's fine. It's just to assess you.
In mobile computing, the device is like it can move from one network to the other, and it's a part of the internet or like the whole thing.
Yeah. Name? Who answered?
Me, Nikesh,
Nikesh.
ITB.
ITB, no? Your roll number?
30.
30. Okay. Fine. Next, resource sharing and web. Through web servers and browsers, how the information is been shared. It's discussed in brief in that unit, and now we've gone through the name say services and all. It is the same thing. Okay, through internet, World Wide Web. What is URL? HTTP. What are dynamic pages? Okay, so this was discussed, and this was discussed in details. Also, goals of data structure. Distributed systems. Sharing the resources has to be open, transparency about scalability should be able to add multiple components, but it should not affect the performance of the system, should be concurrency. Okay, some of the challenges in distributed systems because of heterogeneous systems, because of network like different hardware software components, to resolve that issues, they've come up with the middleware that is a layer which provide abstraction as well as masking the heterogeneity of the system. Mobile code like your Java code, you run Java virtual code that can be executable on any hardware. Okay, so then openness with extensions and distributed systems. Thus, it is necessary that some of the components exist, and it is necessary to add some of the extensions to it. Your distributor system should be open for that. Okay, it should be secured because there is a chances of attack, since it works based on the internet or network connectivity. It has to be scalable. Failure handling is must because multiple systems are concurrently or they are accessing each other to get the information. So fault tolerance is must. It has to be concurrence. Any updates should not be lost. It has to, the same data needs to be provided, and the proper like modified data needs to be provided for the users. And there is a some of the transparency systems like mobile transparency, access transparency, location, concurrency, replication, failure. So these are all the things which will be hidden, like whatever the contents are considered to be need to be transparent that are hidden from the system. Okay, scaling transparency, and these are some of the advantages of system over centralized systems and major facts. Okay, so this was discussed this unit, and see, this syllabus is very vast, and you it's must that you should remember a lot of things. So only thing is you should, if you have understood everything in the class, then only you can summarize at least and write something. Otherwise, if you go, I don't think you have opened the textbook now. Just open and see what is the content. Okay, so again and again I'm telling you, slides is just for the reference. Don't come and argue that I have written exactly whatever it is there in the slides. It will not get you full marks, just for reference. Okay, and system models. System models, architectural models defines a way in which the components of systems are placed, how they interact, how they are like every component is mapped to the underlying network. It's been discussed here. An architectural model. Yes. Yes, roll number 53 from A section. 53.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So what do you mean by middleware now? By now, you understood what it is.
No.
Huh. What do you mean by middleware? Slides are visible.
Yes, ma'am. Like, actually, wait a second. I'm unable to see the slide, ma'am.
1 second. Is it visible now? Or just explain this objectives of middleware.
Um, Middleware, they act like a bridge between the users and the developers.
Users and developers.
Ma'am, not developers, basically, they act like a bridge between the software and the users.
Correct.
They help in interaction of the users with the software.
What type of software? Is it one or only
Pardon,
one
ma'am?
type? I mean, only one type of software, or like what is actually why middleware is being used? What is the purpose? In general. That's okay, fine. 53, no roll number.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone can explain? I'll just note down the roll number. Middleware.
Ma'am, middleware provides program abstraction as well as it masks the heterogeneity of underlying network.
Moreover, middleware basically acts as a gateway for connecting two systems as such. So it may be able to process the input or data that's passed to it and make it more accessible to systems underneath it.
Make it more accessible, or it makes a system to understand what it is.
Yeah, it can be in many ways, but currently, in terms of distributed systems, for example, when the system is connected to a user and data is transferred to a system, so it needs to be formatted in a way that may make it more accessible for
Yes.
the server as such. So the middleware might do the job before being passed to the server.
Okay. What's your roll number?
Ma'am, I am 42 ITA and someone spoke before me.
Yeah. What is this number? Roll number? 2,
Ma'am,
yours is 2. So,
I'm 50 ITB, roll number 50 ITB.
Sankalp.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Fine. Yes, these are the architectures, some of the architectures that we've discussed, client server. Okay. Different types. Yes, what this picture tells, like anyone can answer, any person. In distributed application based on peer processes means what this picture tells actually. Don't see this. Just shows you the distributed applications. Applications are distributed. So what does it means? Here, something is depicted here. Roll number 50, A section. I think I've answered. A section, roll number 50. Tarun Varma.
Ma'am, the slides are not visible.
It's not visible. One second.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Is it visible? This one?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. What does it shows? What is happening there? Can you tell? It's easy. There is nothing tricky or something here. It just shows you the distributed applications. And what are they communicating? Just that.
And the object references from one application to another are being shared among the peers that are connected.
Yes. It's the same. Like it's about distributed applications, how they are sharing, what they are sharing actually. It's just shown here. Okay. Anmol, right?
Yes, ma'am. Roll number 70 ITV.
So some of the design requirements for distributed architecture and some of the different variations for client server model was also discussed. Client will get something from the will get code. It requests for some service in the web server. The applet code has been communicated. Or here client will have the cached copy of the data here. Whenever it wants, you can just access the data. in the same machine. And there is a new concept like thin client. It is just for namesake, it's a computer, but it doesn't have any storage in it. Whatever it wants to access, get the details from the server itself. Those clients are called as thin clients. Okay, so like your mobile agents, network computers. Okay, so design requirements for the distributed architecture, it's been discussed, and some of the architectural patterns. Yeah. Interaction model was discussed and factor affecting the interacting process. I think ma'am had done this. I think ma'am had explained all these things. Yes, I think it's visible. Next chapter is about process and the communication. There we've gone through inter-process communication, IPC. Okay. Unicast, multicast, everything. This ma'am had taught you all these things. Multiple process, multiple threads, everything. Then comes external data representation. Okay. Yes, what is external data representation? From roll number 60 present, roll number 60 from A section. So anyone, you can explain external data representation about marshalling, unmarshalling, everything. Yes. Any roll number, just tell your roll number. Yeah.
My marshalling is basically converting the data that is to be transported into a suitable form, and like unmarshalling happens when we transport data and then we unpack the data to be read by the server or anything like that. So basically, marshalling is done when we have to transmit data.
Transfer data to required format.
Yes, sir.
This example has been discussed.
Yes, sir. For
There are
example,
three ways you can do. Yeah, three ways you can do. It's been done actually.
yes, sir.
So what are these? What are these? No?
XML is like a textual format, and then there are other ways of like transporting the data. For example, JSON is there, and like the CDR representation is there.
So what is Java's serialization?
Java. Um, I'm not sure about that.
Okay, okay, fine, good. Anyone? What's your roll number?
I'm 47.
47 from A section.
ITA.
Okay.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
ma'am, Java serialization is the activity of flattening an object or a connected set of objects into a serial form.
So any object you define and you make it a serial.
Yes, ma'am. So that it can be suitable for to be transmitted as a message.
Okay, fine. Corbus common data representation. Have any idea? This one. This is how the
Yes.
data, like it's been stored in Corbus representation. If it is sequence, elements in order. If it is string, initially the length will be stored, then the sequence. If it is array, elements like normal, because it is fixed, there is no length specified. Okay. Then it looks something like this, Corbus message. Marshalling, Java serialization looks like this, the entire serial form. It's in the table now. Okay. Yes, fine. What is this H0, H1 and all? Anyone can answer. What's your roll number? What's your roll number?
Ma'am, 15. ITA 15.
Okay, fine. So what are these H0 and H1? Here, handles. Why handles are being used?
They are used to reference the objects
Objects within the objects.
within the objects. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Fine. Yes. What is multicast? What's the difference between multicast and broadcast? Example for multicast. Roll number 65, B section.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, when we broadcast, then the packet is delivered to all the host networks. Whereas in multicast, only the intended recipients.
Example you can give multicasting.
Ma'am, multicast.
Teams meeting we have, no? Is it multicast or broadcast?
Ma'am, it's multicast.
To the set of users, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Fine. What's your roll number?
ITA 65.
65. Okay. Yes. Then, yeah. Reliability and ordering. Yeah, in this reliability and ordering, anyone can give example for propagation of event notifications, real-time example. Event notification you get. Any? Yes, roll number 35 from B section. 35 from A section. 36.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So this one, the reliability and ordering of multicast, propagation of event notifications. Any real-time example you give? Is there in the slide, no? It's there in the slide. You can just read it. Highlighting for your. Yes, in Facebook. You get notifications. If any changes in the status or something, those are all comes under this only, event notifications. Okay. Next unit. Chapter 5. RMI. Okay, so here we are discussed about request replay protocol. Okay, so do operation, all these things. Yes, what is this method ID here? Difference between request ID and the method ID. Anyone can tell. Request ID in the request replay protocol, it's a message structure. Okay, so there are three operations defined: do, operation, continue, get request, execute, all these things. Out of that, we need to define a structure for a message. It looks something like this: message type, request ID, object reference, method ID, arguments. So what's the difference between request ID and the method ID? Anyone can tell. Those who have answered already can also reply. Slides are not visible. It's visible now.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. This one, the message structure. So it's about request replay protocol. This message structure, difference between request ID and the method ID here. Message transmitted between client and the server. Don't know. Request ID is ID for request. Method ID is for ID for method. Which one is random number here? Random means like incremental.
Request ID.
Yes, request ID is incremental. Method ID is specific. Correct? What's your roll number?
60 ITB.
That time also answered, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And this protocol message identifier is to identify a message. Request ID is a increasing sequence of integer. Okay. Yes, these are the different types you have for request reply. Request, request reply, request reply, acknowledge. Okay. And request, this is one type, HTTP. HTTP is request reply protocol for the exchange of network resources between the web clients. Okay. Yes. HTTP 1.1. What is the speciality here? Like what is addition to HTTP? What it has? HTTP 1.1. What it has? Additional to the previous. Divyam is here. Divyam. Absent. Saisha. Saisha. Garima.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you tell what additional things are there in HTTP 1.1?
Can I type it in the chat because my mic is not working
Okay, okay,
properly.
okay. You can type there. Saisha present. Saisha present. Yes. Voice over IP is also example, correct? Many are responding. Fine. Not bad. Response in plain text. Is it plain text edition? HTTP 1.1 is not only for plain text. You can even make sure that this is transferred image. Text is for HTTP. The next comes your RMI, RPC, remote method invocations. We have discussed the two case studies, Java RMI and one for RPC, okay, Sun RPC. And after that, we have started with distributed file systems. Till now, it's almost like half of, yeah. It has completed 4 units. You have 8 units. 9 units you have. Out of that, you have done with 4 units. Okay. Yes, we can wind up for the day. We'll continue in the next class. You can leave.